The first 2 days of ICT Week really featured our statutory meetings, and these are the meetings at which we discuss the business of the CTU, the Secretariat, that is the body of the CTU that I am responsible for. We have to report on our work for the last 6 years. Monday the 25th was the Executive Council meeting, which is made up of permanent secretaries and technical officers. And at the Executive Council, I have to report on the work for the last 6 months. And we also formulate plans and resolutions, which we took to the General Conference of Ministers, which was on Tuesday, the 26th. We had a very productive meeting, a lot of discussion. The purpose is to introduce the technologies. The technologies that are emerging, that are cutting edge, and we had a discussion of the low Earth orbiting and medium Earth orbiting satellites. The technology is really brand new. We had that exposure, and also TV white space, right? Those two technologies make it possible to reach your citizens wherever they are, literally, right? And so we had the discussions, then we spoke about a little bit about the policy, legislation, and legislative and regulatory implications of these technologies. Sometimes our laws prohibit us from using technology, yes? And so we spoke about some of the requirements of what needs to happen in the law, in the regulations, to enable us to maximize the potential of these technologies. Then we also spoke about the downside of technology, the unexpected consequences. We spoke about digital addiction, fake news, and if citizens aren't grounded in truth, they believe the fake news, and that's a dangerous place to be for any country. So that and we looked at some of the regulatory interventions to counter fake news, and gave some pointers on digital addiction. You have children, and we're seeing it in the Caribbean. You are seeing it in the Caribbean. It's manifesting now. Children who are not sleeping, they're not eating, they don't want to go to school. And if you try to take away their devices, they are physically violent, right? And then people how should I say? I don't want to say unnatural, but maybe this is just you meet somebody online and you have no clue who they are, and of course you're going to put on your best behavior, and you're going to present yourself, and people get wholly psychologically caught up, young people, in these relationships. But then it's not really the technology that you need to pay attention to, it's the parenting. You need a whole different set of skills. I shouldn't say a different set of skills, maybe not a different set of skills, but you have to understand what you need to do at this age to parent that young person who's coming up, who knows more than you, apparently. Because over the years, I would have amassed a certain amount of information on many things. But now, man, you just click those buttons, and the information of the ages is available to the young people, but not with the filter of some of the experience that I would have had. And consequently, parents need to be very, very aware. They need to really guide their children, establish frameworks of conduct, and so on and so forth. So when they get out there in the Wild West of the internet, they know where the boundaries are, and what they need to run from, and what they need to just completely discard. So it is, at the end of the day, it is really about parenting. in this era. And then the second day we looked at again 21st century government and put forward some models on how we could work as a region together so that our governments all move ahead with it. And then we looked at data analytics, how you use data for effective decision making. And there's some wonderful tools out there that would help you visualize in ways, visualize information in ways that it makes sense. Because if I gave you now a page with 200 entries that cover a number, 10 different dimensions, and I asked you a question about it, you wouldn't really be able to. It's going to take you a long time to go through those 20, those 100 entries on that paper and come up with some sort of a picture of what this raw data is saying. And so there are tools that are available to allow you to do the analytics so that you have information in a form where you can interpret and make decisions based on that information. So we also had that session, and then we had partnering with us the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers. They did the internet opportunities for entrepreneurs, and that went extremely well. And today we had the Internet of Things, a workshop, an exciting workshop about machine-to-machine communications without human intervention. And that has implications for all sorts of things. You know, your fridge can now tell you, send a little message to you, you need to get the eggs and the bread and the whatever else it is. The technology is here. And I like to use the other example now of an example for in some countries where you have issues of child kidnapping and so on, you know. Normally, so when the child, it's only when the child does not come home in the evening that the parent is aware that the child wasn't in school, right, for whatever reason. And then it's going to take a while. The parent is going to now start calling up. All of that takes time. Have you seen my child? By the time it gets to the police and the police jumps on it, it could be 12 hours, which makes a huge difference in terms of if you're going to track this child down. And if the child never got into the school gate, you know, it could be a long time. A lot could happen in 12 hours. They could be shipped out to the country, right? So there, I like to use the example of a child wearing maybe a wearable device with sensors. So when they cross the school gate, right, that child's presence is registered by the system of sensors and so on. You could have it such that when the child enters the school compound, his vitals are checked. Does this child have a high temperature? And if it has a high temperature, he's sent to the school nurse. And the school nurse looks and says, boy, you look as if you're coming down with measles, you know, you better just go back. I'm going to call your parents and sort that out. So you don't have the whole school infected. So all of these things, even in terms of roll call, remember when you go to class, you have to take the roll, and if there are 20 children or 30 children or 40 children, that could take some time. But if you have an electronic system, from the time the child crosses the boundary, he's registered present, right? And you have the data analytics now, the analytics to process that, so the teacher knows all these children are here, right? And so on. And it could send a message if so-and-so isn't in the class, if he has not come onto the school compound, you send a message to the parent, and the parent says, no, we sent him so-and-so, he had a doctor's appointment or whatever it is, right? But if something has gone wrong and the child who is supposed to be in school isn't in school, and that message goes out, he doesn't appear on the roll, then the parent is immediately alerted that child is not on the school compound, and they know if they have a problem or not. And the child will find out if he we call it breaking beach, you know, you run away for the day. All of these things, you know, so the possibilities are really endless in terms of the benefits that could be derived from information and communication technologies. And actually just came from that session. I sat in the session for people, the blind children. And I want to say, the CTU is committed to exposing as many people with disabilities to the tools that are available that could improve the quality of their lives and enable them to participate in a meaningful way in society. And not and in commerce, in every sphere. There are tools that could help them reach their full potential, and they must be given every opportunity to meet their full potential as citizens. Yes? And I'm very, very passionate about this. As I said, I had an encounter some time ago. We went to one country and we asked them, how many blind people do you have? And they said 9. I said, 9? Yes, 9. I said, that's impossible. You can't have 9 blind people. And we kept probing and probing. Yes, we have 9. Yes. And the bottom line was they had 9 registered. And the rest of them are hidden away in homes because the culture is that they're viewed as less than. And there's a certain shame or stigma that is as far away from the truth. It's just wrong, right? And people with disabilities have a role to play. There's purpose in their lives, and it is our responsibility to make the tools available that would help them fulfill their full potential. So we went down I sat in this session with the blind children, and it was awesome. The children are bright, bursting with energy, intelligence. My mouth was, did you hear what this little boy said? Wit, quick, all of that. It's just that they're blind, And so we are committed to that, and there's sessions going on with the deaf as well. We expose them to the tools. Many of them are readily available, but people are just not aware of them.